And yeah, it's been fascinating reading this little book, and another book that Pat has called Super Beings, which is also written by John Randolph Price, and looking at some of the historical, sort of religious and mystical historical information behind it, particularly looking at, you know, mystery schools like the Gnostics and other people like that. I was really struck when the book John Randolph Price, he describes how the Dark Ages was a time where societies and cultures throughout the world were very disempowered. The whole idea of us being God was stripped away out of the religion, and instead there was this emphasis on relying on the church or whoever it was to access our good and our power. I just think it's fascinating that those 400 or 500 years, or however long it was a time when there was no science, hardly any developments in the arts, in culture, in society. It was literally a time of darkness where nobody was in touch with their potency, so nobody was in touch with their creativity. And I just find that startling. So think of the opposite. Think of what it's like when we are completely alive to ourselves, to our godness. And when I say God, I mean, I'm always slightly uneasy using those terms because they've got such, you know, connotations for us, good, bad and indifferent. But I guess I'm becoming more comfortable using that term for an expression of all that is. The power that is, the creation, the creativity, the love force, the propagation, the prosperity now, as I'm realising, that absolutely flows through the universe. I mean, it might involve and evolve and involve and evolve, but there is this momentum of power and goodness and truth, which there is a cosmic order which makes sense, and if we align ourselves with that, then we are happy. Anyway, that's perhaps a different topic, but so it's been quite an adjustment for me spiritually, which is not something I can so easily describe. It's such an inner process. It's like I'm just walking around the planet feeling different, simply because I have this different recognition of my true essence, which is God. And it seems to make all the difference in the world. In terms of this book, by recognising that we are God, that our divine presence is our supply, our source, our prosperity and our abundance, our only responsibility is to pay attention to that truth. I mean, that's amazing. That's our only responsibility, is to pay attention to that truth, to feel its activity, to feed the faith. It's a bit like feeding fuel into a fire. I've had this experience of having a fire in my belly, to use a Big Brother Dave term, bubbling and burning, and my responsibility has been simply to feed that faith, that fire, every morning by reflecting on this book. And it's amazing because what's happened is, well, my financial situation hasn't miraculously changed overnight, but what has happened is that I don't carry that dread of lack of money anymore. So I know from my metaphysical studies that means I'm creating a vibration which attracts plenty rather than a vibration that attracts lack. Because if we're walking around in our life feeling deep down, oh God, it's going to be terrible, how am I going to pay my bills? Actually, that is what we create. But if we can switch that genuinely, as I feel I have been able to with this process, with a feeling of, wow, everything I could possibly need is inside me, everything I could possibly want will be supplied, well, that's the vibration I start to put out, and therefore the universe starts to give me that back. That's the law of attraction.